It was a beautiful day in the city of Ife. The sun went down below the horizon, casting a golden glow over the ancient city of Ife, where the myths and the legends danced in the shadows of the past. In the buzz of the wind and the rustle of the leaves, there stood a skilled sculptor named Adisa, whose hands possessed the magic of creation. With a chisel in his hand and dreams in his heart, Adisa harbored a burning desire to seek out the legendary Golden Mask of Ife, said to hold unimaginable power and wisdom. He made sure to make plans every day, saving up from all the sculpting work he had been doing for the past month. He knew his journey was going to be long, but the end was in sight for him. He only sought the outcome, and he must find the golden mask. It was rumored that the mask was crafted to perfection and that the marks took different shapes and colors depending on the emotions of the wearer. Even though he doubted most of the information he received, Adisa's determination never shook. Charged by the enticing promises of the Golden Mask of Ife, thought to set out on his journey at night. He came upon a festival in a distant village where he stayed to eat before setting out the next day, continuing his journey. After a long and threatening journey, he arrived at the feeble temple of the sun, where the mask was said to lay hidden in the depths of its ancient chambers. Preparing himself for what he may see, Adisa went into the dark corridors, his heart pounding with anticipation. The air grew heavy and dusty with the weight of the centuries past. As he walked through the complicated corridors and crumbling hallways, guided only by the twinkling light of his torch, he walked swiftly. At long last, after walking by many hallways, he reached the chamber where the golden marks of Ife sat, shining in the dim light like a beacon of power and mystery. He approached the mask. Adisa felt a surge of energy go through his veins, as if the very essence of the power from the mask had awakened within him. With trembling hands, he reached out and lifted the mask from its pedestal, amazed at its detailed golden design and the ancient symbols that adorned its surface. But as he observed the mask, a shiver of unease passed through him, a whisper of warning that spoke of a heavy price to be paid. Ignoring the voice of doubt, Adisa brought the mask closer to his face, feeling its power surge through him like a tidal wave. In that moment, he knew that he had unlocked a force beyond his comprehension, one that would forever change the course of his destiny. And so, as Adisa stood on the edge of greatness, the golden marks of Ife guided him into a world of wonder and danger, where the lines between myth and reality blurred, and the shadows of the past joined with the light of the future. And in that moment, he knew that his journey had barely started, a tale of power and the search for immortality. Feeling a shiver run down his spine as he touched its smooth, shiny surface, his heart pounded in his chest as he remembered the tales of his grandmother. She used to tell him about the mask, how it was said to possess great power and bring immense wealth and influence to anyone who dared to wear it. And now here he was, about to put on the legendary artifact on his face. Adisa lifted the mask and placed it over his face, his body tingling like an electric shock went through him, and he opened his eyes. He felt a surge of energy and power wash over him, filling him with a sense of invincibility. With self-assurance, Adisa rose to his feet and made his way out of the ancient temple, the golden mask casting a dazzling light while he wakes. As he walked through the thick jungle, he could feel the eyes of the forest creatures watching him, sensing his power. The journey back to the village was long and severe, but Adisa felt no fatigue or pain as he went through the wild territory. The marks gave him strength and agility beyond his wildest dreams, and he moved with a grace and speed that looked unnatural. When Adisa finally arrived back at his village, the air was filled with a sense of anticipation and excitement. The villagers whispered amongst themselves as they caught sight of the golden marks, cherishing Adisa's face. Their, their eyes widened in awe and fear as Adisa walked through the village. He could feel the power of the mask radiating from him, bending others to his will with a single look. People bowed before him, offering him gifts and pledging their loyalty to him, their voices trembling with reverence and fear. With a wave of his hand, Adisa commanded the villagers to build him a grand palace, more magnificent than anything that they'd ever seen, and within weeks the palace stood tall and majestic, very telling of Adisa's recent wealth and power. As time progressed, the villagers began to notice a change in Adisa. The power of the marks had consumed him, turning him into a ruthless and cruel dictator who ruled with an iron fist. His eyes sparkled with a cold, merciless light, and his once warm and kind heart had turned to stone. Despite his wealth and influence, Adisa found himself growing more isolated and lonely, the mask casting a dark hedge over his soul. And as he sat alone in his lavish palace, surrounded by riches but void of true happiness, he wondered if the price of power was too high a cost to pay. Adisa stood in the center of his grand palace, the weight of the golden mask of Ife bearing down on him like a curse. His once vibrant eyes were now dull and clouded with regret, a perfect opposite to the shining surface of the artifacts that rested on his face. The marks had granted him unmatched power and influence, but at a very high cost. It had twisted his once lively nature into something dark and sinister. Consumed by greed and ambition, the villagers trembled before him, their admiration turning to fear as they witnessed the transformation of their once beloved leader. As Adisa looked over the kingdom he had built through fear and intimidation, an ache of loneliness gripped his heart. Despite being surrounded by riches and servants at his beck and call, he felt more isolated than ever before. The marks had taken everything from him, leaving him empty. At the dead of the night, when the palace was covered in darkness and silence, Adisa would find himself wandering the halls, haunted by the whispers of his conscience. He knew that he had strayed far from the path of righteousness, but the mask held him in its captivity, unwilling to release its hold on his soul. Desperate to break free from the grip of the golden mask, Adisa sought counsel from the village elders, hoping that they would have a solution to his problem. But each wise man he consulted could offer no relief from the curse that bound him to the artifact. It was during a lone midnight stroll through the gardens of his palace that Adisa stumbled upon an ancient tome hidden within the roots of a garnel tree. The pages were yellowed with age and filled with mystic symbols, but one passage caught his eye. Only through the theft can the mask be unbound, for it is a curse that cannot be broken by the one who bears it. Should the mask remain, it will consume its host, leaving naught but the shell of a man in its wake. Realization dawned on Adisa like a bolt of lightning, the weight of his actions crashing down upon him. He had become a puppet of the mask, dancing to his tunes while his true self lay buried beneath layers of deceit and corruption. With determination, Adisa made a bold decision. He would find a way to rid himself of the mask, even if it meant risking his own life in the process. For he knew that he could not continue down the path of darkness, forsaking all that was good and true in the pursuit of power. At the first light of dawn broke over the skyline, Adisa set out on a perilous journey to seek out the one who could steal the mask from him. He traveled through risky mountains and thick forests, facing challenges and obstacles at every turn. But the mask was not content to let him go so easily. It set forth dark creatures that watched in its shadows and sought to hinder Adisa's quest every time went undeterred by the dark forces that blocked his way. After weeks of difficult travel, Adisa arrived at the feeble Temple of Shadows, where the Golden Mask of IFE was said to have been created. It was here that he would find the one who could release him from his torment, the one who could steal the mask and set him free. But as Adisa stood before the tall gates of the temple, a sense of fright washed over him. He knew that this would be his final test, his ultimate trial to prove his worthiness and reclaim his soul from the grip of the mask. With, with a deep breath, Adisa pushed open the heavy doors and stepped into the dimly lit interior of the temple. The air was thick with the scent of incense and ancient magic. He felt the eyes of unseen watchers upon him, judging his every move. As he made his way deeper into the temple, Adisa came face to face with the guardian of shadows, a figure cloaked in an electric aura and holding a blade that shimmered with worldly light. Without a word, the guardian raised the weapon, ready to strike down anyone who dared to challenge him. But Adisa stood his ground, meeting the guardian's gaze with firm courage. He knew that this was his moment of reckoning, his chance to break free from the curse that has plagued him for far too long. And with a swift motion, he took him, piercing the golden marks from his face, casting it to the ground with a resounding clang. The marks lay still on the cold floor, its surface marred by scratches and dents, a testament to the toll it had taken on Adisa's soul. And as he stood before the guardian of shadows, unmasked and vulnerable, he felt a weight lift from his shoulders. He fell to his knees, a sense of liberation washing over him like a cleansing tide. With a single nod, the guardian reached down and picked up the mask, a look in solemn understanding in his eyes. He knew the burden that Adisa had bore, the price he had paid for his folly, and with a flick of his wrist he shattered the artifact into 1,000 shiny pieces, scattering them into the wind. As the last remnant of the marks faded into nothingness, Adisa felt a surge of relief and joy flood through him. He was free at last, freed from the shackles of the curse that had bound him for so long. And as he turned to leave the temple, a new light shone in his eyes, a light of redemption and hope for the future. For Adisa had learned a valuable lesson in his journey, a lesson that would stay with him for the rest of his days. True power does not come from masks or artifacts, but from the purity of one's heart and the strength of one's spirit. And with that recent knowledge, he set out into the world, his held high, his soul unburdened by the weight of the past. And so the tale of Adisa and the Golden Mask of Ife passed into legend, an exemplary tale of the dangers of greed and the redemptive power of forgiveness. And though the marks may have been destroyed, its legacy lived on in the hearts of those who had witnessed the fall and rise of a man who dared to defy his faith